No, 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 Nancy. It doesn't look like they're going away. No, in fact, I think they want you fired. Whoa. She didn't like that. She didn't like that. No, sorry, Nancy. Got to go now. I would suggest you start making plans to do something else next year. You know, those dang liberals, they're so persistent. You got to remember that. Our next speaker is E.K. Soul. E.K. Soul is the co-owner of the Divers Depot, established in 1994. He has trained thousands of new scuba instructors from all over the world. He graduated from SFA with the liberal arts degrees in history and communication. He is a retired teaching faculty member of SFA. He is an Army veteran, member of VFW, American Legion, and is a life member of the Vietnam Veterans of America. He is also a member of the National Rifle Association's Institute for Legislative Action. He has been a volunteer for many organizations, including Nacogdoches JC's, American Red Cross. He is a past president of Nacogdoches American Heart Association, and he was team captain of Nacogdoches County Search and Rescue Team. EK is a recipient of the Texas Governor's Business Circle Award. Today, EK's topic is related to the expanded role of the militaries in domestic intelligence gathering and updates on the Second Amendment, right to bear arms, and updates on current national affairs.
Well, in other words, I'm going to talk for a few minutes about guns and government. Before I start, I need to say that it's probably one of the most humbling experiences in my life. And I'm proud for everybody that's here. I've got some good news today, and I got some bad news, and then I've got some good news. We live today in an awkward time. The current administration is probably the best thing that's ever happened in the last 50 years. It gave us a wake-up call. And I think most of us are ready to answer. The Tea Party is really the average hard-working American. We're kind of fed up with politicians who make promises and then they break them or don't keep them. This movement is only a year old. We'll either transform the current political landscape or we'll vote them out. And we'll vote in conservative, independent candidates who'll do it right. Of course, the Republican Party wants to claim us as part of them. The Democrats want to denounce us and discount what we are. The First Amendment of the Constitution is about free speech. The Second Amendment is about gun rights. The 10th Amendment is about limited federal government in our lives. I'd like to have an exercise today in politics, and I hereby appoint you as representatives, and I call you to vote. All those in favor of cleaning the House and the Senate of anyone who no longer represents the views of the people, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Security escort. All veterans took an oath when they joined the military. It goes like this. I swear I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. If you're a veteran here today, please raise your hand. Do we have any active duty or a reservist? Raise your hand. Any active duty or reservist? Well, I salute those guys too. I'd like to also remind you, all the non-veterans here, that without the military, the United States would not exist. All that we have ever asked from the countries that we liberated in past world wars was the land to bury our soldiers. We funded World War II with war bonds. Americans had a choice whether to support the war effort, to buy bonds, or not. Today, Washington does not ask for support, and they certainly don't sell war bonds. They just spend our money. We expect the government to keep us safe, provide for national defense. However, the United States spends more than $700 billion each year on defense. That's twice as much as the next 5 militaries in the world combined. Way too much waste. The Iraq and Afghanistan cost us several $100 billion each year to fund. Did we vote on that? No. Part of our heritage, our history, is that you have a right to defend your family, your property, and defend your country. The Second Amendment of the Constitution says that a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. To most scholars, this amendment guarantees that Congress cannot disarm the state-organized militia, better known as the National Guard. It also explains, for people like us, that if armed, we could provide self-protection when the government fails its duty to protect us. The Texas Constitution says that every citizen shall have the right to keep and bear arms in lawful defense of himself or his state. By the way, this is written into 36 other state constitutions. We're not alone. In the last 100 years, countries like the Soviet Union, China, Germany established gun controls, resulting in more than conservative estimates of 56 million defenseless people being rounded up and murdered. I know some of you folks are saying, that won't happen here. So here's something you may or may not know. Canadians were blindsided with the Gun Control Act of 1995, which says you must have a license to buy a gun and have it in your home. And there's a lot more restrictions that go with that. Australians were blindsided in 1996 when the government passed restrictive firearms legislation. People were forced to surrender their guns, including their semi-automatic .22 rifles and shotguns. I hear you, brother. Now, what I find interesting is I was an ambassador to Australia for scuba diving just before they passed this legislation, and I asked some of my Aussie brothers and sisters in diving, I said, what do y'all think about this? And they said, oh, well, that'll never pass here. They won't take my gun. Later, they said, boy, you were right. We should have done more. The Brits were surprised when the government passed the Firearms Act of 1997. It resulted in handgun ownership almost being completely banned in Britain. Gun owners are not just fighting for gun rights. We're fighting for all our freedoms. You know, if you really feel strong about this, consider joining the National Rifle Association. Now I'd like to turn to a topic that most Americans really